Okay, forks. Okay, folks. Happy Sunday. And we gotta clean some of this stuff up. We gotta clean some of this stuff up here. We got things everywhere. We got a lot done yesterday. A lot done. We got a lot of positive stuff done too. We found out some valuable information about airbrushing yesterday. We discovered it. It's probably on a YouTube channel somewhere. But sometimes you kind of have to experience things yourself to understand the before and after why you're even doing it. Because I'm not a fan of necessarily complicating, making my painting method any more complicated and long-winded than it already is. I feel like it is more long-winded than most. But, that doesn't mean a whole lot because a lot of people just don't have any patience. But we certainly don't throw things together. Even though I'm going through a lot of stuff, we're not throwing things together method-wise. But getting the flow of the airbrush to just go right has been kind of a learning experience that you just kind of have to figure out on your own. Just kind of have to let it happen and see how you deal with the consequences. See if you need to do something different. But it seems to me that once I put more of this stuff together, I'm probably going to do a short video. Maybe it'll help people out. Airbrushing for dummies. And a lot varies on what paint you're using. But you'll look at those airbrushing videos, and they focus so much of their attention on PSI. And while that's important, there's other things to consider as well. So they got the PSI where I needed it to be. But then what happened was it just wasn't getting small enough. So the retarder and the flow improver, just one drop of each. And I don't know what the proportion is, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out. Let's do one drop, okay? And if one drop doesn't work, well, but it worked really well, really, really well. We were able to get, some really small squigglies. So, and I'm sure the next time that I go in airbrush, it'll probably go better because I'm going to remember those two products. And it's funny because they're products I already had. So I'm actually putting them to use. This is one of the people were asking me yesterday what the Jesus juice included. Liquitex Flow Aid is some of it. And it used so little, I was left with so much of this material. Now, this is relatively expensive. I'm going to say it's $20, or it's probably $20 now if it wasn't before. But man, it lasts a lifetime. I've used it quite liberally, and I'm probably down maybe a third. And that's been for a couple of years now. So, I don't think this is the brush that I want to use. It's not the one I was using tires on, the wheels. Yeah, let's use this one right here. But we'll figure shit out together. Maybe you'll just be entertained, or maybe you won't have to reinvent something that I already invented. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure somebody else already has a video on it, but it's hard to sift through videos and not get any practical knowledge and then try to do it yourself. So frame drops, but sound okay. It's the freaking drones again. Is that war still going on? Let's see. We got a warning here. Drop frames around 40. Yeah, I don't know how to fix that. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to fix that. So I hope you can bear with me. Technology is great when it works. When it doesn't, you just wish it wasn't invented. Because then you don't know what you're missing out. But if you buy a piece of technology, TV or whatever, it doesn't work, you're pissed. You had these expectations of what it was going to be, and you probably spent good money on it as well. And then it's not working for you. Not cool. So the Brumbar is on a Panzer IV chassis, and because of that, it has an unholy crap ton of road wheels. But this actually doesn't take that long. I used to think it'd take a really long time until I discovered Roman sandals. That took forever, because you got a lot of guys on foot. And that's just DBA Army. Imagine you guys playing other systems that have more figures, which is every game has more figures than DBA. Art de la Guerre, the stolen French rules, has a lot more figures than DBA. I don't care whose feelings I hurt. When I look at the copy of Art de la Guerre, and I was going to buy a copy of it and I couldn't get a hold of it, and somebody actually sent me an electronic copy. And when I get an electronic copy from somebody, that I'm not supposed to, I just held on to it. I'm like, okay, I'll buy the rules if they're good. And I'm glad I didn't buy them because it's like all the stuff is lifted from fucking Phil Barker's work. They have a thing in DBMM. They have this thing called, the generals of the abilities, brilliant generals and inert generals. And brilliant generals, guys that you could buy like extra attributes and stuff for. And when you look at Art de la Guerre, it has something similar to that. And it's the same generals. It's the same people in the same armies. I don't know if they're all the same, but I looked at like 20 and they were the same. And I'm like, that smells dirty. And they charge for the rules. If they didn't charge for the rules, okay, whatever. You're not making any money off somebody else. But this whole idea to charge for somebody else's work, rebrand it, charge for somebody else's work, and not even mention the person in the rules just doesn't sit well with me. I just don't choose to live my life that way. Now, without all that said, I wouldn't play the rules just too many figures. And it's got abstractions in it that I'm just not going to deal with anymore. I don't belong in an abstract world. So, not affecting your enjoyment. You're listening while photoing DBA stuff for sale on eBay and writing for your newsletter. You can write for a newsletter and listen to something else? Good for you, man. I can't do that. I borderline detest writing. And it's not because I'm not good at it or that I have bad spelling. It's that there's many things that involve writing these days that I find extremely unpleasurable. For instance, I am just old enough that I didn't take any typing in school. So even though I type faster than I write, which I don't write slow or anything, but I do type faster than I write, when I write I make no mistakes. When I type, I flip letters around. So I constantly feel like I have to proofread every single thing I write. So I have to, it's just torture. And I like taking notes. I like taking notes a lot. Um, and then there's things you have to focus on when you're writing. You don't have to do when you're taking notes. When you're taking notes, you can write everything in like little bullet points, right? Which is how DBA should be written. Just saying. Take the same words, put them in bullet points. But why am I doing this metallic stuff? I'm going to dry brush over it. See, I can't even paint and carry on a conversation with myself. Well, we're on this freight train now, so it's not that many things. Had the black rubber color. Okay, so the back's done. Let's just be consistent. Let's go ahead and do the shovel part. And especially these days, I feel like, because everybody has kind of the same ability of getting your voice out and your opinion out, including me. Nobody listens to each other anymore. Everybody's too busy talking that they don't listen to anything anybody else has to say. And I don't know, it's just kind of gotten old, Like if you got like a hobby, you got a Facebook web page, and most people luckily aren't this way, but a lot of people that are the loudest are this way. You have a specialist location, whether it's a bulletin board or a web page or your Facebook page or something like that. And it should be a way to get people of diverse upbringings and to come together over a common thing instead of like having something else to fight over. Now, most people aren't that way. I'm certainly not that. I'm not interested in interacting with anybody on a crusade. Maybe these people don't have stressful jobs. My job is very stressful, so I don't want anything stressful, even remotely stressful when I'm not at work. I don't even want the remotely stressful stuff at work, but I don't really have much of a choice. But, so if you bring hate and discomfort to me in my hobby, fuck you. Catching up on photos and vids for Hammerhead's show from yesterday. The Toon Krieg Kelly's Heroes was impressive. I don't know. I will watch that movie again if I ever come across it for free. But I'm just not going to listen to the beginning music sound. Like I said, I like all the actors that are in it, except that German with the creepy lips. He's got them don't leave him around school children lips. Oh. Unfortunately, that's actually a thing, as the world has found out. Unfortunately, this is the return wheels that are just weird as hell. They're super deep, and Eschi used to use them for everything. By the way, this model manufacturer, ESCI. Do people call it ESCI or Eschi like we always did? What was the other one we used to call? ERTL. ERTL. But then AMT was AMT, not AMPT. And I still have a hard time calling DML anything other than DML. Because I remember when DML came out. Now it's like it's Dragon. Who the hell's Dragon? Oh, DML. Oh, DML. Oh, okay. Yeah, DML, man. Sounds like a rapper. You going to the DML concert? No, it's rap. I started off a little later than normal today because I actually was at a concert yesterday. I went with my wife, and we got back about 11:30, and it was here locally. So it was a civilized concert, meaning it was like a university auditorium. So it was pretty. Wasn't people misbehaving there? Always been esky. You guys in Britain do weird things with your C's. What do you mean? Well, no, I didn't lose. I didn't lose sound. This this is a word I never use, by the way, and not because it's a bad word. RECCE. RECCE. Yeah, I don't use that word. I call it recon, and I actually use the word recon probably 2 or 3 times on a daily basis. I use it like, let me go look for something in the yard. I'm gonna go do a recon. That's what I call it. Um, you guys call that recce, and I would never pronounce it that way. I would pronounce that as Reese if I had to say it, but I don't. It's not really. Don't really use it. Yeah, I did. I did do that correctly, right? It's not double E at the beginning. R double E. I don't know. I don't use that word. I know what it means. I don't use it. Esky, recce. Yeah, I don't. I don't pronounce. I don't know. And you're certainly affected by other people you're with. For instance, I worked at a hobby store, and we always pronounced that Japanese manufacturer of models as Tamaya, and it's wrong, but we always pronounce it Tamaya, and I've now gotten out of the habit of calling it that. No, my dad always pronounced it Tamiya, but then he's from another country, and it's just it's your go-to pronunciations. So my dad, who was actually pronouncing it correctly. Now, I think I asked somebody who spoke Japanese, how is it pronounced? And I think they said something like it was pronounced Tamiya. And I'm like, okay, well, you got to put some accent marks if you want me to pronounce it that way. Because, you folks need to start using the same alphabet. And then we could talk. Tamiya. We used to always called it Tamaya. So there's an example of peer pressure making everybody call things wrong. But I don't use that word. I don't use Reese. I don't use Recce. Recce sounds like Recce ball. Reconnaissance. I like that word. Reconnaissance. I realized yesterday we have through my wife's, she has one of those banana phones. What do you call them? Oh, yeah, Apple phones. I don't. That she has access to Apple TV or whatever it's called. And I just saw an ad yesterday that Napoleon is out on it. So I may watch that soon. I know it sucks, but I'm actually okay watching a movie that I know is going to suck and have really poor expectations. And I may not hate it as much as many of you because I'm not a Napoleonic expert. So all that stuff will get lost on me. It's like people that are into World War II, why they can handle playing bolt action and flames of war. Well, they're They're not anal retentive about the Second World War the way I am. You know? I can't play a game that's like, I can play a game, don't get me wrong. I can't get motivated to build anything for that game and be excited about playing that game. If you're going to make every Panzer III, whether it's a late J, an M, an L, or an M, oh, it's just a long barrel 3. Well, which one? That's not for me, so. I know a guy who's a war gamer, and he is a doctoral student of. I gotta say it that way. When you say somebody is a doctor, you're like, really? What kind of gown does he wear? No. He's got a PhD. It's not the same thing, and that's not to poo-poo people that have PhDs. I'm just saying that, when you say somebody's a doctor, they're like, they think they're a medical doctor. Even somebody who's the eye doctor would probably still be confused with a medical doctor. And that probably happens to them all the time, not just, my interpretation of it. So, Kelly's Heroes. Yeah. Not a fan of that hippie vibe. But I'd give it another shot. I saw it a long time ago. I saw it a long time ago with somebody whose dad was a huge fan of the movie. Like, oh, you got to see this. I'm like, okay. I was like 19, 20 years old. I don't think it was more than 20. So that was a long time ago, 3 decades. And didn't like it. No, sir, I didn't like it. The C pronunciation is Latin influenced, whilst the K pronunciation is Germanic or Old English influenced. Let me give myself, I figured out how to do a heart bump. You know what a heart bump is, right? If I switch this from top chat to all live chat, which is where it should have been on anyways, I get an extra little welcome to live chat. So there we go. Cinewolf, it would be pronounced Kinwolf. See, and I look at that, and the first thing I think of is Cinewolf. Cinewolf. Kinda wolf. Yeah. I don't know. What is it, Germanic? We don't let those jokers come over here. Germanics. No fun at parties. You know any good Germanic jokes? I didn't think so. I feel like I pronounce things better than most people in this country. That's not saying a whole lot. But as I have at least access to 2 different languages, I got a clue. I'm not a clueless wonder. Clueless wonder as opposed to a toothless wonder. We got some water here. I didn't drink enough last night. I didn't drink enough water last night. Went to bed late and dehydrated. So I found out today what my 6 o'clock alarm is for. It's to get me up for this show. If I didn't have an alarm for 5 and 1 at 6, I would have slept in. And I know that the 5 o'clock went off, and I must have turned it off and went back to sleep. But I got to bed about midnight, so. For the love of road wheels, and the Panthers are going to be fun, not. As attractive as Panthers are, I don't like the road wheels. I don't like the interwoven ones on anything. I know why they were done. I don't like them. And neither did anybody that ever had to switch one of them out. I got to fix the one in the back. Cool, you got to take 3 off. What? Scheiße. Our southern neighbors were overrun by them, so their language was influenced heavily. Well, better to be overrun by the Germans than the Mongols. I said it. God, I hate the Mongols. And they didn't even screw with my people. My people were so busy fighting Muslims. Mongols never made it to us. Marcus, welcome. Yeah, there's another rule set that the guy that used to run it, I think that kind of died. And the guy that kind of ran it, he used his pen name. And I just don't believe in using pen names. I mean, I'm not going to, what the hell use a pen name for? To hide your identity so you could like throw stones and nobody knows who you are? I just don't see a point in pen name. And you have to decide on a pen name, and then stick with it. You can't change it every week. Them's big decisions. So just use your own God-given name or a parent-given name. But this guy, I don't know if he's a nice guy or anything. I just know that he's the one that kind of ran the whole Armati scene. Uses his pen name of Sabador or whatever, People have like a fetish for that guy, And I don't like the Mongols. I don't like the Mongols because they destroyed everything in their wake. Anyhow, doesn't mean I wouldn't build a Mongol army, but not a fan of them. So better be overrun by the Germans than the Mongoloids. And like, they're not even nice to their own people. Karl Otto Alberti, who played the German tank commander, played the quintessential German in lots of films, Battle of Britain and Great Escape to name 2. I saw Battle of Britain. He's got some creepy lips, man. I know you shy away from unit symbols, but will you do tactical symbols on your German AFVs? I don't like tactical symbols. I think they look silly. I shy away from them because I don't want to have to, because I know too much about the units, and I don't want to be like, man, this is in this area and this unit wasn't there. That's the only reason I don't do them. Not because they're not cool. I do think they're very cool. With that said, I do have a tactical symbol on the on the Jagd Panther. I believe it's the Jagd Panzer 4. Sorry, no, it's the Stug. The Stug has one. I don't like them. I don't like the unit symbols. But I still did one. But that's why I shy away from them, because then I know too much about the units. And I'd be like, these guys didn't have these, you know? You know what was really weird for me growing up with, I watched war films that played, there's a station here called, at the time, I guess it's been around a long time, at least since the early 1980s, called TBS. And I don't know if they still do this, but TBS, which was Ted Turner station, I don't know if it still is. I don't really keep up with those, who owns what. It's too complicated. Everything's owned by a bloody corporation now. And a greedy, bloody corporation. And but they would show old movies. So almost all my war movies that I saw growing up was on TBS. And so whatever they showed is what I got to see. So, and obviously, assuming it was something I was interested in, So if it's World War II, I'm going to see it. Because I've always been interested in World War II. But, I didn't see Zulu until very late in my life. I'm not interested in colonial stuff. I certainly wasn't as a kid. But that's basically where I saw all my stuff growing up. So if they played a movie over and 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 over again, and that's what I would see. So I watched the 1965, I believe that's the correct year, Battle of the Bulge many, many times, because they played that one all the time. They must have paid for the rights of being able to show it, and they showed it over and over and over again to get their money's worth out of it, or however that works. I'm not sure. So to me, the quintessential German for me is Robert Shaw. Because I saw it so many times. And when I saw him not blonde and playing an Englishman, I'm like, this is fucked up. You don't fit that role. It had been ingrained in me so much that he was the quintessential German. And then I see Sink to Bismarck. This is I'm a kid. I'm like a teenager. See the Bismarck. And the guy who plays Lutyens is the guy in Battle of the Bulge. They're in the opposite order because Sink to Bismarck came first. But I saw Battle of the Bulge before I ever saw Sink to Bismarck. They weren't playing it. And the guy who plays the Admiral Lutyens, and Sink to Bismarck is the older helper adjutant of Hessler, of Robert Shaw in Battle of the Bulge, and he was basically like he was, instead of being a go-getter, I'm gonna go win the war. He's like he's downtrodden. His character's kind of downtrodden. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's why they sank the Bismarck, because they had a downtrodden guy as the admiral. So when you're a kid and you see movies, people's roles almost kind of cement what you think they're going to be throughout the rest of their career. It's just fun. What else? And of course, the one I saw more than any other movie was Guns and Navarone. They played the hell out of Guns and Navarone. So, and there was you had to catch it live. So if it already started, there's a good chance I saw Guns and Navarone halfway through the movie. It wasn't until many years later I knew that Anthony Quayle was even in Guns and Navarone, because the only scene I would see him in is, who's this guy who's lighting up a cigarette in a hospital? Because he'd already been captured because he got injured. You don't watch the movie at the beginning because it started at whatever time, and you didn't go home from school or whatever. These kids now are spoiled. They can watch anything they want from beginning to end, you know. Oh man. What else? What other World War II movie did I grow up watching? Cross of Iron when I could catch it. Of course, they edited out the BJ scene, which is not really a big edit. Totally unnecessary. But that one was cool because it had real Russian tanks in action. That's what you watch. That's what I watch war movies for. I want to see like the real toys go out and make vroom vroom noises and blow things up, right? So when you use a fake tank, it really messes up the effect of that. I don't want to see a Sherman pretend to be a German tank. That defeats the whole purpose. You got combat on TV in the early 70s in the UK, and I never watched it as a kid. So I didn't have it in my area. I think when we lived in Alabama, I caught like 2 episodes of Baba Black Sheep, and then it wasn't available here in Florida. So I didn't, I never saw combat. I never saw Rat Patrol. They didn't have it here. I lived in a town, the town I grew up in, which is, 15 minutes away, was at the time we moved there, maybe 70,000 people. Had one TV station, and that was it. And I don't think we had cable for a long time. I don't know. I would have watched combat if they would have had it. Nope. I mean, I don't like black and white stuff, but I watched other black and white things and didn't like black and white stuff. Lost in Space. I didn't give a shit about space crap. I watched it. Why? Because it was on Sunday morning. What else are you going to watch? The 700 Club? No thanks. Jeffrey, 700 Club is a religious programming type show. Protestant religious programming type show. I would even say evangelical at that point. Yeah, I'm not watching that. Yeah, we had to watch whatever the hell they were playing on TV. So there's lots of movies I've never seen because they didn't play them on TV, and now I'm like, I don't have the time to play them. Like I've seen the Ramagan movie once. I've seen what else? I've seen many things once. Big Red One once. Dirty Dozen one time. I think the second one was a made-for-TV movie. The black guy in the SS uniform. Come on. Oh man. And even as a kid, I didn't watch Pacific War movie stuff. I just didn't really care for it. Just never. The Japanese just weren't interesting enough. Sorry. Love their cars. That doesn't mean I'm not going to paint any Japanese stuff now. I'm just saying as a kid. Now I want to learn more about it. That's why I want to paint them. But as a kid, it didn't interest me, They're outnumbered, outproduced, and wanted to commit suicide. Like, nah, it doesn't interest me. Might as well be from another planet. That doesn't make any sense. Sounds similar to my TV options as a kid. I remember the occasional playing a bridge on the River Kwai. I remember seeing Bridge on the River Kwai, and I've seen Midway as well. I'd like to go back and watch the old Midway. I haven't seen it in 30 years. I remember not hating it like I did this new Midway. I really hate the new Midway. I really don't like it. But there aren't too many modern war movies that I really care for. I tried watching Fury a second time with my daughter, and we got about 20, 30 minutes into it, and we're like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I mean, the special effects are great. That's it. I don't want to see any of the other stuff. You grew up in Virginia as a kid? I take it. You one of them newfangled Yankees from Virginia? Oh man. My daughter's going up there for spring break soon. I think it's next week, something like that. My wife's best friend lives in just south of DC area. Let's switch to Top Chat, and then yep, Mountains of Virginia, small town. Except fortunately, my name isn't Bubba. One of them old interesting that your comment about I'm one of them old rednecks did not show up on Top Chat. It somehow did not like that you put rednecks down. Like there's something wrong with that. Like you can't call a redneck and they get offended. They don't. They're proud of that shit. Only thing you can't do is call a redneck a Yankee, and then you can't get away with that. Them's fighting words. I'm going to need a drink after painting this many road wheels. And the sad thing is you probably won't even be able to tell that it has rubber by the time I'm done, but I got to do it because otherwise it looks just kind of flat. Hey, keep it down there, water bottle. Don't get all uppity. So yeah, thank goodness I have a 6 o'clock alarm. I wouldn't have woken up. Well, we'd still do the show. It just ended up being later. And then you guys would be like, I guess Tony didn't do a show, and you go do something else. Movie quote from Forrest Gump. Another movie I've seen once. And I saw it way after it was out. So, Even though this isn't a very good running gear on this Brumbar, and it's Eki, it is the same bottom as the Hummel. But the Hummel is so old that it only has one road wheel on the bottom all the way across. Doesn't have them doubled. That's how bad a model this is. But I don't care. I'm still going to paint it. The camo turned out nice. I like it. But I do like division markings. I just don't want to commit to them. You know, like anytime I built a 1/35th scale model, yeah, they got division markings. I like them. I like the German and the British ones. All the other ones, you know, the American ones are lame. Russians just do whatever the hell they want until they sober up, you know. It's just kind of a mess. Some of them look like they're done with finger painting. I'd say in some ways the British ones are better because the British ones are all, I think, almost all full color. And the Germans aren't necessarily. Sometimes they're just white. All the British armor markings are full color. Unfortunately, some of the good ones didn't come out until really late. I really like the 11th Armored Division, but the 11th Armored Division, I don't think it was even in Normandy. Right? Or is that the 79th? Which is the one that has the charging bull on the yellow background. That's a good looking marking. Uh, 11th, I think it's the 11th. Armored. Yeah, the charging bull. It looks good. Okay, so what's the 79th look like? Armored. Gotta spell it the British way. Oh, it also has a bull, but it's just head on. The other thing that was really confusing, and I didn't realize this until recently, that I'm kind of doing the World War II shit again, is you'd get these decals that would come in for the 7th Armored Division. And, you know, this is what I'm used to a symbol looking like. And with a Jerboa. But early in the war, they didn't have the Jerboa in the center. It was almost kind of like the opposite of a Japanese symbol. It would be a white circle with a red outline. I'm like, why is that? And apparently it's as a homage to the 7th, whatever unit it was, probably an infantry division in the First World War. They had that symbol. So I didn't know that. I'm like, so you don't want to use that for the 7th Armored until, you know, unless you're doing stuff in like 1940 or something like that. The initial Operation Compass and stuff like that. Once the Germans show up, they all have a Jerboa on them, you know. So 11th was knowing took part in Blue Coat. Took on Panthers. That's not a good idea. I steal a page from you. You wrote that in Russian. I steal page from you. The 11th, yeah. Took on Panthers. Good thing there weren't too many of them. I don't have one of those yet. I'm prejudiced against vehicles that aren't in armor division, in Panzer divisions. In other words, ones or independent units. I'm just not a fan of them. Like these assholes. These guys were in independent units as well. Not a fan. Because those independent units don't have good unit symbols. So I still think like a 1/35th scale modeler. But maybe I'll change my mind on German unit symbols and start putting some of them on there. So you do enough of this that it isn't noticeable. Blue coat. I've never heard of blue coat before. Sounds like I need to read more about Normandy. We're going to have that mufflers back there all rusty as hell. And there's this little wood block thing. We'll have all wooden blocks on it. All right, let's do the tracks. I'm going to try to finish the brum bar, not jump all the way around. Why'd I pick the brum bar to do first? I don't know. Because I'm stupid like that. Let's get the super dark brown. Well, this is the old one. Let's not struggle with this thing. I should just get rid of it. You have used it a lot. Where's my helpful hands? I hope it's not in the garage. And my tools that haven't been pulled out. If that's the case, then I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go on a search for it. Yeah, helping hands. I think that's where they're at. Unless, nope, it's right here on top. Perfect. This is actually really useful for this. I got to make sure I don't add too much pressure and pull this thing apart. It's this the delightful rubber band tracks that everybody likes so much. And this is how we're going to paint it. Let's get a big enough brush and slop this shit on. You got the hand sanitizer ready? Yep. Yeah, because we're going to need that. We're going to get some on us. Ain't no way around it. Blue coat. No, I didn't hear about it. They need to advertise that operation a little bit better. Operation Blue Coat. Who came up with that creative name? Okay, that's like a Fallet type thing, isn't it? That time period? 30th of July, 7th of August. Fallet might be a little bit later. Undertaken by 8th Corps and 30th Corps, British 2nd Army. Attack was made at short notice to exploit the success of Operation Cobra. Post Goodwood. It's funny, when I think Goodwood, I think of a headlong charge into Pack 43s. You know, those huge German anti-tank guns, but the low to the ground. The Pack 43s on the, I think they were, I don't know if they were their own chassis or they were like the chassis from like a 150 millimeter field gun or 105 field gun. But it's the long 88. It's the 88L71. We're just going to paint this all over in this really dark brown color. Is there any kind of theater of the Second World War you guys just aren't interested at all? Like you'll see some kind of programming or an article about it and be like, nah, I don't care about that shit. For me, it's island hopping. I don't care about island hopping at all. I'm just going to read right past it. I'm just not interested at all in anything island hopping related. I'm also not interested against Soviets versus Japanese. That's very, very one-sided. And the Soviets sucked at that time period. So I started my next Audible book that I just happened to see it was out this year. I don't know if I talked about it, but it was by the same author that did several armor battles on the Eastern Front that are in pretty good detail. And so I knew there was going to be some juicy bits in there of the stuff that I like to read about. And it's called Beta Femme to Crusader. It's called Desert Armor. And, you know, I'm still in the intro section right now. But it's, hopefully, there'll be some cool stuff that I'll need a notebook for and take notes on and maybe get some ideas. But it's good so far. There is a YouTube that has a series, Wargaming in China. Very well researched. All right, I'm going to look that up because that's kind of a dead area. And I think that would be a good matchup. Wargaming in China. Unfortunately, there's only one manufacturer I know of that makes Chinese in 1/72nd scale. I want to say it's Caesar. Your problem is you're interested in them all. I'm not interested in, you know, Italians versus British in Somaliland. You know. Or anything that involves the Vichy French. I just tune out. Like, I'm not interested in the Vichy French. And not because they're French, Just because, they encounter somebody, they're really, you know, they're really outnumbered and really outexperienced. Outnumbered by troop quality, outnumbered by numbers. It's like, double whammy. I want to read about stuff that, is kind of it could go either way type of thing. If it's really one-sided, I kind of lose interest in. It's called Wargaming China. Okay? Let's write that down. Wargaming China. Okay. I'll have to say I'm going to check that out, and then I won't check it out. And it's not because I'm just being rude. It's just I forget. Nope. Have troops for all theaters except Hungarians, Bulgarians, and Slovaks. Wargaming China is a great channel. Can't wait. The problem with you got Japanese tanks, they're just pure garbage. But if you're fighting somebody else who also has pure garbage stuff, it's okay. I don't mind fighting. I don't mind fighting with tanks that aren't very good, as long as the other side has tanks that aren't very good. Then I actually like it. So I went over to Mitch's a couple of weeks ago, and just stopped by to say hi. He wasn't playing anything. And he was telling me, I may have mentioned this before, that he wanted my opinion. Don't ask for my opinion. I might just give it to you. On what he should build tank-wise for if he was going to do rapid fire, on Barbarossa. And I'm like, he wanted to do the Russian tank force in 1941. I said, well, you came to the right guy. Because that's my year. So we went through a bunch of other stuff, but I really like the Soviets in 41. They have all kinds of shit that doesn't work, and stuff that's garbage, and stuff that's interesting, and that's the kind of conflicts that I like. I like the matchups that are like one side has more stuff but is less experienced, and one side has less stuff but they're more elite. Or, but if you got one side that's more elite and has more stuff and has air superiority, and the other side has all the negative traits, I'm not interested in the conflict. I just kind of lose interest, It's just too one-sided. It's like a movie where you know who's going to win kind of thing. So, maybe you shouldn't look at it that way because, especially if you're playing something really tactical like I am, where, you could have a situation where there could be a local advantage, because you're zoomed in so far. But still, the overall appeal of it is kind of waning for me. When one side has all the advantages and the other one doesn't, not really my cup of tea. Wargaming China, huh? Well, that's certainly an area that's that people don't know much about, and a lot of it does not have to do with the fact that I think the biggest contributor is the alphabet. You just can't pick something up and it's all the characters. The stuff that needs to be translated from other sources, assuming it's available. 1941 Soviet stuff is great. And the other thing, I got a idea of building my first aircraft, my first modern aircraft that I painted since. God, I probably haven't done an aircraft since probably 1987. I'm like, what's it going to be? And I'm like, I should build an I-16. It's iconic Eastern Front aircraft. Converted 20. Oh, it's a 20 millimeter channel too? The one true scale. Commonwealth invasion of Syria and Lebanon was a close run thing. The Vichy French forces fought well and there's lots of odd and obsolete pieces of equipment use. Really? All right. Esmond makes a shitload of French stuff. Problem is, I'm not interested in the French 1940 thing. It didn't last long enough, and the German tanks looked stupid. Other than the Panzer IIs. The Panzer IIs still look okay. But the Panzer IIIs with no turret box behind them, they look dumb as shit. Sorry about that. They just do. They do. They do to my eye. Okay, we got to wait for the Brumster to dry. No, we did this one second. This thing is way over scale. Way over scale. I never did find out who the hell made this one. This is the 76 Fujimi one. Well, yeah, it's pretty big. This one almost looks too square. And this one's a lot longer. All right, I'm going to be right back in moments. I got to go take care of something. Be right back. I'm with you on island hopping. It's only useful for solo wargaming. Well, that is a good idea. Who's the name of that company that makes those solo board games? They they have an initial, ZVG or something V. There's a V in there somewhere. There's like a Rommel and a Napoleon one, and Alexander the Great, and island hopping. Okay, so working on the Stoogie, the first thing we got to do is this thing has just been airbrushed. So we're going to go ahead with the base color again with the Dunkelgelb. Dunkelgelb is turned into like when I was painting those Renaissance Germans, and I kept saying Landsknecht this and Landsknecht that and Landsknecht this, and you know, Dunkelgelb, 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 you know, all this the nonsensical word over and over and over again. Armor dark yellows, we used to call it back in the days of Flocal polyes. So we're going to come in here and get the Dunkelgelb main color again and soften this thing up a little bit. Now, AK paints suck for this. They're way too watery. And I could probably come in and find a Vallejo equivalent. But I'm choosing to be consistent. I'm going to get these edges here. And I don't know why I decided to do that. Maybe somebody else had an idea of doing this, but there's things that I tell you that I unashamedly lift from other people. I don't know that I lifted this from somebody. Because when I started doing the camouflage, I didn't have an airbrush. So I got to get like an airbrush kind of look without having one. So how am I going to do that? Well, let's dry brush on top of this. But I've heard other people do the same thing, so good. It's a good idea. It works well. And this is so light, I don't have a problem handling the model and this paint coming off of it. So that's always nice when you don't have to take extreme precautions to undo something you did. You love Henry Hyde's German pronunciation when he talks about his units and commanders in his Imaginations videos on YouTube. Henry Hyde. I'm not familiar with him. Imaginations? What time period is it his Imaginations? Is it Victorian? God, Henry Hyde sounds familiar, but not as a war gamer. Imaginations. Yeah, the first couple of camouflage schemes, I didn't have an airbrush, so I just I dry brushed kind of the airbrush. I mean the camouflage scheme, and then came back with it afterwards with this, and it looks pretty darn good. And I'm not really a fan of the hand painted German camouflage. You know, they sometimes did it. I'm just not a fan of how it looks. Okay, so we're done with that. Enough of that. Enough of that. We're going to come in with the lighter color, which is this. This is actually not the modulation shade it came with. It had this one, and then the next two are very, very light. So somehow I came across this mid-war one. It must have been one of the other sets. And then we'll come in here and do the itchies and the scratchies. Oh, let's put this thing back. It's in the way now. 18th century inspired by Charles Grant's book, The War Game. He's acquired some of the figures from the book's illustrations from Grant's son. 18th century. Okay, so 1700s. Baron von Munchausen. I never finished watching that movie. It got a little too, I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. That game that Mitch and Joel used to play quite a bit, and they stopped playing it. Maurice. It uses imagination type stuff in it. I played it a couple times. I thought it was a good game. I don't know that it represents the period really well, but there are enough different things to do. It's DBA like in that you got lots of different ways to skin a cat. I just don't think I don't know that it represents the period really well. It seems like you got a lot more flexibility than they would in real life. I don't know. But it has kind of a, shit, I don't remember it that well. You know, after I've played something new for about a couple of months, I forget some of the details of it. It just isn't that important. Are these imaginations in Europe somewhere, or are they in, some far-flung corner of the world? Hail Tony, hail chat. How is everybody? Well, we're good now. We're waiting for that salute. Ave. I don't know why I do this sometimes, but it just creates some irregularities. A lot of this is going to get weathered over. I guess I got to put 2 crew members in here because both of these hatches are open. these little rivets up here on the front. Now it's land of the road wheels also. Land of the road wheels. At least this is a Panzer III chassis, so you don't have as many. They're not as obsessed with them. I really like of all the German running gear, I think the Panzer III one looks the best. Panzer II one doesn't look bad either. But I don't like the inner living ones. The Panzer IV one just has too many. It's okay, it's just too many. I didn't design the tank, folks. Contrary to popular belief. They didn't ask me. Not sure if Jeffrey's still on here, but I know Airfix has done some new stuff. Not the stuff that we grew up with. How do you find out if the kit is a new one or if it's the old one? Is there a way of finding that out? I wouldn't mind building some old aircraft that I had as a kid, but I don't want to buy a model of a Stuka that's no good when a better one from the same manufacturer is out. And if you buy an old one, the decals could be shot too. You got to be careful with that. You could be buying something off eBay and get decals that shatter. Hey, Marty. When are we going to be able to see your work on a game table? Don't know. When's work going to slow down? Don't know. No plans. My motivation to learn these rules or relearn these rules is damn near zero. And my workload is just stupid. It's just stupid. And it gets even worse when you hear that nobody wants to work and do shit. Like, I'm just trying to survive the next 15 years. So, maybe in 15 years, stay healthy, Marty. I don't know. I've said before, gaming isn't therapeutic. This is. So, I think the other day, it was a Monday, I'm like, let me go buy Mitch's. It was like 7:30 and I was still at work. I'm like, fuck this. We need a global recession of excruciatingly big size. And I just don't think I don't think the powers to be are going to let it happen. We're just way too fucking busy. So I'm going to go to the con and, in a couple months, we'll just hang out, have a couple beers. I don't know what I'm going to do. It doesn't really matter, I've been maxed out on vacation days for a decade, literally, and I have just over 3 weeks, and I couldn't use them all up. I had to cash some of them in, which I'm not supposed to be able to do, but it's just too much work to leave. You get punished for leaving. There's such a fucking mess when you come back. I think I found a list of Airfix kit, but it's crude. I'll try to post a link, but if it doesn't show the next page, I'll send information on Facebook. Okay, so there is a comparison then, the old and the new one. Okay. The older ones are Badger vintage classics. They're 172nd. They have a few newer kits. I was talking about aircraft. I thought all of their armor was 76. I bet there'll be figure painting in the near future. I don't know, man. I got to get a lot of vehicles knocked out. I've done figures for freaking 20 years exclusively, so that's the main reason I'm not doing them. And I'm kind of overwhelmed with having to go back and retrofit all my figures. I mean, my French guys turned out okay. Maybe I should just build new figures and forget the old ones. Maybe that's the way forward. Maybe that's the way forward. But I got a big hill to climb for the rules. You know, the advantage is I'm probably not going to be playing any other games other than this. I'm certainly not going to be running any other games, so I shouldn't have a problem getting confused with them. And I'm probably not going to play this game. I'll probably just run it. Because, like I've said before, my interest in it is just seeing what narrative happens. You know? So, going to Historicon and read. No, I'm not going to Historicon. I don't know that I'll go to Historicon again. And it's not because it's not a good value, and it's not because it's not fun. It's just too many days off. You know, in what is it, March? At the end of next month, I'll have been at my employment for 30 years. And my job shouldn't be this challenging as it is for this long. It's just they always keep throwing a new wrinkle at you. Always something good, you know? Oh man, you met this goal, cool. Now dude, here's 4 more. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, you know? So I'm fucking burned out. So maybe in 15 years. But we got to do this stuff along the ways. Otherwise, we're going to be an alcoholic. And I basically don't drink at all because of this. I didn't even know that. Yeah, my vacation at the end of this year, we were going to go to. This last year, we were going to go to Europe. That didn't happen. And I was going to take 8 days off along with a winter break, and then ended up taking 2. I just, I mean, you go to lunch, you come back from lunch, and things are fucked up. It's like a flight simulator. I don't want to talk about work, but thankfully, I don't think about the place while I'm not there. But it's like you're flying a plane in a bad flight simulator that you constantly have to adjust the trim. You won't even ever fly level. It's like you're fighting it with a bad joystick. You try to not crash into a mountain. Send me a link on Facebook. Yeah, so right now I'm only gonna go to Huracan and Recon. I'll still go to those. That's only 1 day off. If I can't take one fucking Friday off, I need to quit. I mean, it's just absurd. Now, thankfully, I don't go to work on freaking Saturdays, but the plant's open on Saturdays and shit. I mean, in the industry, a lot of things have changed to 4 days a week, and we're working 6. So, so this is a Facebook, see it through, come through. See for aircraft, the vintage classics are reboxes of original molds combined with a newer, thinner plastic. They are a bit hit or miss. The new tool stuff is really good. All right, let's see if we got a message here on it. Since we're not using a second camera, thank goodness. Let's see. Oh, we got messages from both of you guys. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. It's all text, but it's really cool. These are all the models I built were basically MPCs that used to be old Airfix ones. They were rebranded ones. I don't know what happened in the 1980s, but it was almost kind of like I never saw an Airfix model kit until the mid 90s at a store in the United States. They might have had them in a store in the United States, they just didn't have it in my area. Okay, so if I go all the way to the bottom, oh, this is really interesting because it talks about it's not necessarily. Let's go all the way to the newest stuff. Holy cow, it's a lot of things. 2020. There's some cool stuff in here, man. I'm gonna have to dive deep into that. Oh, here's the Tiny Toon stuff. Okay, well this is better than the Kelly's Heroes movie because it doesn't look like all hippie and shit. Yeah, I saw somebody at Historicon had those a couple years ago. I want to say it was the people in. It was either the Michigan Toy Soldier Company. I think it was Michigan Toy Soldier Company. All right, since you guys are Facebook experts, I need your help. And I don't know why I don't know this. There was a game. There was a game at Historicon. Let's see, it was before COVID, and it was at a new location. So it was Historicon 2019 at in downtown Fredericksburg, and these guys in 28 millimeter had 3D printed an entire game with figures and everything for the. And I've mentioned this before, and this just brings back childhood memories of the old GI Joe toys, but in 28 millimeter, and they did an entire table, and it looked good. It looked really good. It wasn't like just kind of thrown together, and you could recognize like small versions of all the toys that we had growing up in the 80s. And I don't know who the hell did that, but they did a really good job with it. And it's funny because the data information for the characters was done in the same way that they used to do the old ones, where it was on the back of the cutouts, and they were like little file things with the little tabs on them and stuff. And what the hell's wrong with my nose? Why am I itchy all of a sudden? And I just said COVID, and I started getting an itchy nose. Ugh. And yeah, it got lost to me. Who the hell did that? I thought that was really freaking cool. Really, really cool. Probably the most innovative thing I've seen at Historicon. And I'm almost certain that I'm never going to do 3D printing myself. I don't have a problem with 3D printed stuff. I don't have a problem painting 3D printed stuff. I just don't want to do it. I don't need that kind of a headache. That's going to be like, an airbrush times 400. We actually have one at work, a 3D printer. I don't think it's a very good one, but it's been broke for years because you can't get the parts for them. Like, okay, that tells me I don't need that in my personal life, you know? So, molds. There's another word that looks better with a U in it. I've said it before. I like British spelling, but American pronunciation. Some words look good with a U in them. Armor looks weird without a U in it. I think I did a paper one time and I got marked off for writing the color gray with an E in it. I'm like, it looks stupid with an A in it. Sorry. Holy crap. Brew up in benzene to 28mm G.I. Joe game, Saturday, 2 p.m., 5 hours. You know, I've got those old catalogs. Why didn't I freaking just look them up myself? All right, I'm going to take... This is what a lazy person does. I'm going to take a picture of the screen. You know, there's a lot of things the phone does a lot better. And surfing on the phone is a lot better. I don't surf on the laptop at all. I don't. You don't get a computer virus that way. You know? And it's not that I'm surfing, you know, dirty pictures or something. It's just that they're usually on free. They're hosted on free sites, and the way they get free sites is a lot of advertising and Klingons and things like that. That the next thing you know, you got all kinds of issues on the computer. I think from my phone, the only virus type thing I ever got on my phone, even a remotely virus type thing that I got on my phone, I have two things. One of them is my language got set to Finnish. And I don't know how to do it. I've watched several videos. I'm just not going to worry about it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't come up all the time. But sometimes when I search for things, let's see, let me do a search for 11th Armored Division here. And I go to images. And let's say I like this image on Wikipedia. And I want to say download image. No, it didn't do it that time. Sometimes when you do functions in here, you'll get pull downs that come on your phone and it'll be written in Finnish. I don't know what the fuck it means. That happened a couple of years ago. And the other item that I had, I installed Twitter. I don't know why I decided to install it, and it installed a bunch of other stuff with it that I didn't ask for. That's it. Phone's pretty freaking solid. Computer, it takes nothing to get a damn redirect virus and you got problems. So I don't surf. This computer's pretty much done on. Had to tell, I had my coffee this morning. Excellent. I get to talk to 80-year-old grandmothers through how to change the language on their toothbrushes from Russian to English. They don't. All right, I'm calling bullshit on this. There's no toothbrushes from Russia. Oh man. You know, the internet is great, but there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much wrong stuff. You know, because I've noticed this. I've been on a couple of Facebook pages that I joined them because they had like cool pictures of World War II stuff. I think one's called a tank historia and the other one might be naval historia. But basically one's tank heavy, one's ship heavy. And I figured, okay, there'll be some people that are really interested in ships. Well, there are. And then there's a lot of people that, because they have a voice, they feel like they need to let the world know that they're able to type things on the computer. And all they do is they take the conversation and turning it in a direction where everybody else that actually knows about the subject has to reel everybody back in so they don't fall off a cliff of misinformation like a bunch of lemmings. And it's exhausting. It's really, really exhausting. It used to happen with DBA all the time. You know, somebody would ask a question, hey, what happens in this situation? Somebody that's never played the game is the first person to voice in and says something that's 180 degrees wrong from anything anybody has ever played. And then everybody else has to spend the rest of the time reeling everybody back in, or just say, you know what, fuck it, let them just fall off the damn cliff and they'll just make a big pile. And eventually there'll be so many carcasses of lemmings that nobody else will fall off the cliff because they can just keep walking on that. You know, it's exhausting. And they're just like, there's just like excruciatingly wrong stuff. I was on one of these sites the other day, and they said something about, it was a picture of the Tirpitz, you know, the battleship Tirpitz. And, you know, and somebody commented about it. I think that was the one that blew up the Indefatigable in World War I and the Battle of Jutland. And I'm like, I don't know that I've ever heard something more wrong than that. And it's just like, it was just like, all you got to do, that's like a basic lookup on the internet. Like, why would you even post something like that? Um, it just creates so much issues. Your Pinterest was in Malaysian does Malaysian have a cool script like Thai? Until I managed to figure out how to change the languages. Hayes Gray History is the only decent naval page. Is it a Facebook page? They used to have ones called Hayes Gray and Underway. I don't know if that's the same one. Like, can we go back to it? Can we go back in a time machine to people that don't know what they're talking about? Just shut the hell up. I say it all the time. There's lots of things I don't know anything about, and that's okay. But some people are like, I can't admit I don't know anything. I'm like, well, you know something, but just don't run your mouth about shit you don't know anything about. Have a great day. See you at Recon. We'll have many beers. Well, if we go to the baseball place, I won't have many because I freaking pick. Make sure to find a game we'll play together. Absolutely. I don't mind playing games because I don't have to learn it or teach it to anybody else. I just walk up and I bring the energy level of the game to a different level. Let's put it that way. So I go to games. I'm like, you guys aren't having fun. You need me in this game. Yeah, a lot of people play games that just don't have any fun. How am I going to get to these road wheels? I don't want to put pressure on that thing. That was a pain in the butt to get it to stay in place. Let's see. They did mold the two road wheels. Let's go this way. This would be so much more of a pain in the butt without the flow aid. Let's just do these half moons. Let's knock all these out. And half the time I do this, I'm like, I don't know why I bother doing it. Just when you weather it, it all disappears. But deep down inside, you know you did it. Yes, I was a Patreon for a while. Gotta go. Catch the rest of the later. Excellent. Thanks for stopping by, man. Always appreciated. There we go. We can get the rest of the stuff from this angle. This is a decent vehicle for a skirmish game. It's got a one cannon. It's got no coax machine gun. The only machine gun it has is up here. You got to pop your head out and become crew exposed to fire it. So the infantry boys can have a say in that. You can't just sit inside some armored box and have your way with everybody. I played an interesting video game a couple of weeks ago. It was one of them free pay-to-win type things. It's called Enlisted. And it does a couple of things that I've never seen a video game do before. It's basically a first-person shooter, but you can switch in between people in your little group. And you kind of bring groups on. You've got like 4 groups that you can have. And I haven't played it enough to figure out how you get another one in. But you can rotate through them. And it's objective based, like you gotta capture this area and so forth. But one of the things that it does that's kind of unique is that one of the things that it does that is kind of unique is it has this board where you're fighting over, and as soon as you capture a point, it moves the board to a different area. So you actually, if you're somewhere, it might say, hey, you're leaving the area, and it was an eligible area before, but now it's not. So it's constantly moving the map a little bit. That's kind of unique. The other thing is you show up with 4 folks, and you can switch between them. if you need to. Like when your guy you're controlling gets killed, if the other guys don't get killed, because you're kind of in a certain proximity of each other, you can't most of the time. You could switch to one of the other guys, and you get experience and stuff like that. But you could actually have a vehicle as well. But unfortunately, it's a pay-to-win thing. So you can get these super vehicles if you pay for them, but then you've got or better squads. But then you end up fighting better stuff. So anyway, so I'm in this tank. I was in this T-34. I don't know what it was. It had a machine gun on it and it had a cannon. And the machine gun, it was a Russian one, because every 63 rounds or something like that, I had to reload. And then I was in it differentiated between the magazine on a coax machine gun between the different vehicles. And I don't know if that's accurate, but it definitely was a factor. For instance, if you take something that has a much larger magazine on the machine gun, it's a hell of a lot more effective than something that has a very small one, because you could be dropping like a fire lane on like infantry troops, but every 63 rounds you have to put another one. But if your magazine is much larger, then it's a lot easier. And just I've never seen that actually taken into effect in a game, and that's what I really like. Really tactical stuff, because you can really tell the difference between the weapon systems. You could tell, okay, well, this machine gun fires faster, or this one doesn't jam as much, or this one actually has a feed mechanism that's a lot larger, so you don't miss these opportunities of maybe a snapshot happening while you're changing magazines. So, yeah, so I don't get into those games a whole lot, because after about an hour, I'm done. I can't do like a whole day of gaming, but I'll be like, I want to kill something. Let me go play World of War, something like World of Warships or something like that, which is just ridiculously inaccurate, but it's kind of fun. I think the War Thunder stuff is better, but man, it's really difficult. I wish I come from a background of being pretty decent at flying aircraft. I can't fly aircraft on War Thunder to save my life. I just can't. I don't know what it is about it. They just don't behave well. I remember back in the days when we used to play Grand Theft Auto 5. They have aircraft in that. And I'd get together with my brother and his friend, and I was the pilot. I would always get in there and fly the plane. They'd get in the plane or whatever, and I could go in between buildings and stuff like that. As wonky as the controls are, and the Grand Theft Auto series, the plane controls in that one, I did really well with it. I can't fly planes in War Thunder at all. But, those games are fun for, you're painting a Stug, and I'm like, I'm going to go play in a Stug for a while, but other than that, I can't sit there and play games all day long. The changing safe zones would make an interesting tabletop scenario. Sci-fi. Yeah, a running table. I could do it here on the kitchen island. It's 42 inches by 90. Is that right? It's almost 4 feet, and it's almost 8 feet. And it's the freaking kitchen island with, marble slab about that thick. Yeah, that's like the perfect place to game. The problem is that anything I'm going to game is going to take a long time. And okay, clean everything up and mark the positions and set it up again. So I'm like, bummer, But yeah, you could stand on my game table, wouldn't be an issue. Can't have no Mitch feet though. You gotta have no nasty feet on the table. There's at least one person out there of the just over 1,800 subscribers subscribed to my channel because they wanted to see Mitch's feet. I guarantee there's at least one person. That's how many deviants are out there. Oh man. about time for another coffee. Let me go get one brewing and refill the water. I'll be right back in a moment. Changing safe zones. Yeah. I remember the one time I tried to play Fortnite. First of all, I remember a couple of years ago, well, no, maybe more than a couple of years ago, they were advertising Fortnite as some kind of like a zombie type game, a co-op zombie fighting game. Like, okay, that's cool. I don't care. It's a little cartoony. That'll work. And then the next thing they come out with it, and it's a PvP, people building fucking Lego things up in the sky, and all that stupidity. And then on top of everything else, you're constantly having your save zone reduced. It's too stress inducing. I don't want a game that's that stressful and you don't get like a chance to have a breather. Even when you're playing something like State of Decay, you can get a breather playing State of Decay. Actually, State of Decay is freaking awesome. I hope they keep making those games because it's got scary themed stuff, yet it's not scary. But there's times where I have failed a morale check, and it's usually due to ferals. You get to find shit, you get to use stuff, you got to manage your resources, you get to improve your characters. You get to be like, I wonder what's up in that house. So you walk up to the house and maybe it kills you. Maybe it makes you stronger, It's got a lot of things that I really like in it. I wish some of the roads didn't have as many roadblocks so you could travel a little easier between places, but there's a lot to like about that game. And I learned about that game when the first one first came out. So I've played it a lot. And yeah, big fan of State of Decay. And I think it's a game that most people don't know about. I think some people found out about it with that whatever that is that you can play the free play or whatever on the compute on the Xbox, whatever it's called. They changed whatever it was called, but now it's available for free. I mean, I bought my copy, but it doesn't get. There's no bullet sponges. Man, bullet sponges get freaking old. Like I really liked. What was that one that's set in New York? It actually came out before COVID, and it was basically COVID to a million. The Division. But it just gets to the point where you have these characters that you have to take out, these bosses that just end up being bullet sponges. So you're shooting these, it's got unrealistic stuff stuffed in a technically realistic type game. But I mean, I know why they did it, but I've had some good times playing that. So I don't mind video gaming. I just can't do it for hours like I used to when I was younger. It's just, it puts me in a bad mood because you have nothing to show for it. And, you're usually doing some kind of frustration type thing. I'm gonna go ahead and paint the inside of these hatches. It's just a solid thing in black. So if you see anything in there, it's just gonna be total darkness. And we'll put a couple figures in here. I gotta find out what color uniforms Sturmgeschütz crews have. I have suspect it's field gray. I suspect it's cut like a Panzer uniform, but steel gray. But steel, I said steel gray? Field gray. Field gray. The Division looks so disappointing. The original preview showed a co-op open world game with a variety of tactical options for the players. Yeah, it's fun for a little while. It's the bullet sponges that are the worst spot. You got to go fight some guy, and you just take so much. It's not terrible. I don't know that I've played a Ubisoft game that's terrible, unless this game is Ubisoft. The worst game I've ever played that I can remember off the top of my head. It is called, off the top of my head, it's called, something Dogs. The worst game I've ever played in my entire life. Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs game. It's Ubisoft. Okay, this is the worst game I've ever played in my entire life. I played a demo and I'm like, I'd rather go to work and not get paid than play this game. It like incorporated everything that I hated about. What was that? What was that original game that they made for the Xbox? That you play the agent that is that has the freaking vision thing. You know what I'm talking about. Way back in the day, he had He had the vision gear, whatever the hell it's called. He goes into a combat zone with his Beretta and 15 rounds. That's it. You kill everybody. You can't get any more ammo. It doesn't matter if it's not 9mm ammo. You can't get any more ammo than 15 rounds. Fuck that. I don't go around with just 15 rounds. I looked that up, and a few posters on Axis history were adamant that they were field gray. Late war would be a mix of whatever was at hand. I agree with you. Okay. They're adamant. Sounds like somebody's on a crusade. Sleeping Dogs is great, but that's a martial arts co-op game in Hong Kong. Do X. I've never played it. Is it sci-fi? You know which one I want to try? I'll try everything, but you know, when you spend $70 on something, you want it to be good. There's one game, and it's old now because it's been like 5 or 6 years or whatever, but where you get to play, it's a medieval game in Bohemia, and you play some guy that has to like assassinate people and do, I think it's like a minor nobility or something like that. It's got a very run-around type of name. It doesn't have a very memorable type name. And you go around and have to sword fight things, and I like any game that if you want to improve a skill, you have to do the skill, and as you do the skill, your character gets better at it. It just makes sense that way. Do X. There's one thing I hate about the new Xbox. It makes me never want to play the other one. The Xbox Series X is just so, everything loads so effing fast. And the human body is a motherfucker. And it is a motherfucker because you get used to things. You get used to how things look, and then I can't stand going back and looking at something else that is not, it's blurry. Maybe it's because I'm nearsighted. It's like, okay, let me put my contacts back in. Who took my contacts off? Damn French word. Yeah, I was spelling it right. Do X. Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's brilliant, extremely immersive. He's called Henry of Kiking? Skalitz. Heinrich of Skalitz. I said Bohemia, and it's in Bohemia. And you know what that reminds me of? There was an old game a long time ago, back when there was a company that was prolific in video games called Microprose. I think they're coming back or whatever. They were prolific in we'll say it's the early 90s. And there was this game called, I can never remember what the name of the game was. It's called Darklands. A guy I used to game with used to love that game. I don't recommend you playing it. It looks like horrible EGA graphics by today's standards. But you played this band of merry fellows, or ladies, I guess you could play ladies as well. And in Bohemia, Germany and Bohemia in the 1500s. And it was basically it was medieval, but you also had some fantasy elements in there. And basically the underlying plot between it all is the Teutonic Knights were involved with the worship of Baphomet, and you needed to uncover stuff that was happening. But it's go here, buy this sword, sell these units, go buy this other stuff, get better armor, craft this thing, go on a mission, that kind of stuff. And you end up having to fight, some guy that looks like a big bull, satanic looking bull thing at the end. So, Darklands. Bump. In it, you throw cow shit at a German guy called Deutschaus. You throw cow shit. Is that amusing to throw cow shit at German people? Only if they tell bad jokes. Well, then it's going to happen all the fucking time, then, isn't it? Oh, man. Is it worth looking into? And then I remember, I forgot which one, which game Hoffman was telling me is the Romance of the Three Kingdoms that's open world. I forgot. I remember when it came out. It got terrible reviews. I really like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms background story. I've played enough of the games that I kind of know it. I just don't think there's a lot to do. Like, there needs to be like more weapons to find and shit like that. It's kind of like lame on that aspect, but the music of all those games is like freaking incredible. Unless you don't like rock music, which, you know, what's wrong with you? Okay, I think we're done with that side. Let's going to flip to the other side. Actually, we're going to take a break from this. We're going to go back to the Brumsky. And let's dry brush this. Let's dry brush this guy. This is going to be an interesting challenge because part of me is going to want to put them on the same size base that all the Panzer IIIs and the Stuga are on. And that has a bigger footprint than any of them. I don't think it's going to fit. Is the Stuga still out here? Yeah, she is. Okay. I don't think this is going to fit. Yeah, it will. It's going to be a tight fit. Won't be a tight fit there. Okay. All right. No. We have to do decals next. Decals. God, this stuff smells good. I'm just going to paint that whole side. There's somewhere up there that they put them on there. And I want some flexibility. I don't think we've got to put anything else anywhere else on this thing. Let's go ahead and rinse that. Close this back up. Yeah, it's worth getting just to look around the map. Okay. People like to rip on Assassin's Creed. Okay, I didn't know anything about Assassin's Creed, and to be honest with you, I left video gaming for so long that when I heard Assassin's Creed, I immediately associated it with a game called Thief. And a game called Thief is a game where you basically, it's a medieval game and you have a bow. And you go around and try to pick people off with a bow and not be seen and stuff like that. And I'm actually not a fan of a game. I don't mind a game that you have to be stealthy, but I don't want a game that if you get spotted, the game's over and you have to restart. No, I'm not interested in that nonsense because things go sideways sometimes, you know. Ah, shit, that's stupid. Did I fuck it up? I don't know. Let's give it another coat. See, this is the mistake channel. I've actually never had that happen before. Well, I'm probably having again. When I take my glasses off, I transform into mole man. I really can't see much stuff around my field of vision 6 inches in front of my face. So I don't have my contacts in right now, so I am like feeling around. Let's just go over this again. Like that felt sticky and wasn't supposed to. There you go. We may put a Balkenkreuz back here too for variety. Okay. I don't remember what the fuck I was saying. But anyhow. Oh, Assassin's Creed. It came with my first. It was one of the games that came with my Xbox One. Was the Black Flag one, which was the pirate one, and I loved it. I mean, it's just an exploration game, like you said. Look around the map. I wonder what's there. It's a beautiful game, and I got the Greek one. The Greek one's beautiful. I mean, talk about inspiration to build DBA stuff. Absolutely beautiful graphics. You know, you may or may not like the storyline. You may or may not like the gameplay, but it's really good looking game. Really good looking. And if you play the girl, she's pretty good looking too. Just saying, you know. She's a bit little on the side of what's that girl that got into trouble with Disney? Gina Carano? A bit too much like, if you don't do what I tell you, boy, I'm gonna whoop your ass. But you know, but it's a fun game. Man, it was stressful going into the freaking labyrinth in that. Holy crap. You know, labyrinth with a minotaur, you know, which is, you know, my favorite classic monster. If you say, what's your favorite monster from like your favorite fantasy monster? Minotaur. Every time. But, you know, they're stress inducing because, you know, they're bull-like, and anything bull-like or goat-like like that, just, it has satanic undertones to me. And so, but I was going through this labyrinth, and every turn I took, I'm like, you know, and I ended up having to do a lot of those turns for it's like, oh, okay, it's the boss battle. I don't encounter him until this spot. Well, shit, you know, wouldn't have taken me so long to go through the labyrinth otherwise, but. Big fan of labyrinths and minotaurs. Doesn't matter whether it happens in what was that Diablo 2 knockoff game? Titan Quest. Titan Quest or anything like that. That is just a classic mythical monster. I remember playing that. I don't know if you've played that Assassin's Creed, whatever it's called, the one that's in Greece. And I remember from reading about the Peloponnesian War, there's a guy that I really hated. There's one guy I really particularly hated because there's many attributes that I think extremely low of. You know, attributes that you can, you know, liar or bad things, different levels of different things. And one of the things I rate extremely distasteful is being a turncoat. Extremely distasteful. And switching sides and being dishonorable and shit like that. It's okay to be, it's okay to be evil. Not really. What I'm just saying is, but don't be disloyal too. And one of the characters you encounter, what did you say about that? Interesting Minotaur quest. Okay. I know, I was talking about it. It was scary as shit. That when you end up fighting the guy all the way in the back. One of the characters you encounter that I absolutely hate in real life and in the game was Alcibiades. I'm just trying to figure out. You got to do his quest to get approval. I'm trying to do his quest like freaking wrong. Because the guy is like, he's like a shifty fruitcake. He's just... I've probably played that game probably a couple hundred hours. I haven't played it in 4 years or something like that, but I don't mind not playing a game like that because I got my money's worth out of it. But did you play the girl? If I play that kind of character, you're looking at the back side of a character for 200 hours. It might as well be a girl character. I'm just saying. Don't shoot me. What was her name? Cassandra? Yeah. But that's a game that, it has low replay value from the standpoint that I'm not going to play the game and play as the dude. Whereas if I'm playing something like Diablo, I'll play through all the characters. Because it's a totally different gaming experience. Playing all the different characters and how you have to deal with all the tactical puzzles. But yeah, I played Cassandra. There was some times where she was just freaking hot looking. I'm just saying. Sometimes she's a little too like, okay, settle down. Remember when you take the drunk guy to the games and he falls off the dock? I don't. But I've seen so many things happen. I'm sure it's a funny game. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous mountains. Everything's compressed. Like the verticalness is the same, but it's not, I'm going on a ride to Sparta and stuff like it. It's an absolutely beautiful game. Honestly, you prefer Origins? I haven't played that one. I played the pirate one. I played that I got free. The French one, the French Revolution one, came also free with the Xbox One, and it was okay. It's funny how you play something like that. And you're like, oh, now I know my way around Paris from playing a video game. I played probably that one the least of the three, and I finished the pirate one all the way through. The ship battles in the Greek one are freaking gorgeous. There's a lot to like about those games. Are they unrealistic? Absolutely. Almost all video games are unrealistic, but they're very creative. Gives you Origins. Origins is the Egyptian one. Yeah, that one came out relatively soon. That's the only ones I've played. Listening to audiobooks on an Egyptian series by Wilbur Smith, and it makes me wish that it set it in the Middle Kingdom. Yeah, I don't like the storyline of. I think the storyline is. I don't like the storyline of Assassin's Creed. It's dumb, and the movie was worse. And why would you cast a German Irish guy to play somebody with my freaking surname? I'm just saying. The movie was garbage. And I like Fassbender, but it was garbage. But they're interesting games because they have a high amount of exploration. And I'll tell you what, I did have a lot of fun playing. And I'm not a pirate fan by any stretch of the imagination. I don't really like pirate stuff. But it was pretty cool going up to a fort and trying to pick off the guards. Yeah, there's a lot to like about those games. And I never played any of the ones that are before the pirate. I got the one. There's one that's like an American Revolution, and I think I downloaded it for free on Game Pass or whatever it was called before Game Pass. Played it for a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I don't really like this theme. I don't really like the graphics or whatever. Didn't really get into it, But inspiring is the word I was thinking about. That the terrain was inspiring. That game's a bit woke, if I remember. Though there's a lot of people that there's a lot of folks in there that just don't fit the demographics of what they should look like. I'm just saying, Diablo 4. I played Diablo 4 a lot, and you can go. You have multiple towns you could go to. We have a blacksmith without doing a really complicated note taking. I would say that more of at least half of the blacksmiths or more are female. And one of the towns I went to is kind of we'll call it a Scottish town, okay? Because it's kind of in Scotland type things, and all the people talk like that. And I come up to this blacksmith. No, it wasn't that. I'm sorry. It was in Tiny Tina Wonderland. That's what it was. And the first blacksmith I encounter ends up being a woman of color with an Irish accent. I'm like, really? And I'm fine with there being one blacksmith like that. But like the first one you encounter, like, no, that's just not even remotely. You guys are trying too hard, and I'm all for things being inclusive, but some things you're trying too hard, and I see right through it. If you're playing a game that has a woman of color with an Irish accent, that's fine. But there needs to be like 20 more redheads with an Irish accent, just percentage wise. And I'm all for things being inclusive, especially, groups that weren't included in things before, but the proportions can't be like askew big time, because it's like, what are you trying to pull here? You trying to change how things are? The State of Decay needs better looking women in it, though. There is a severe lack of, when the zombie apocalypse happened, all the cute girls are gone. Just saying. Going back to the Napoleon movie, do check that it is the cinematic version and not the 4-hour version to be shown on Apple Plus. Is the longer Napoleon movie any better? What's no worse? Going back to the Napoleon movie, do check that it's the cinematic version. I thought the cinematic version would be worse. Let's see. Apple Plus Napoleon. I have really low hopes for it. I didn't think it was ever going to be any good because he doesn't look like the guy. Like, why even cast him? And I don't have a problem with him as an actor. I think he's a good actor. Maybe it won't be that bad. Version. Let's private version. Let's see what we got here. All. See if I can get a length here. Since we got the experts on here. Rated R. Give me a length. Cast and crew. Doesn't say. Doesn't say. So. Okay. Do we have water? Why, yes, we do. Rinse this for a little bit. Got to keep the wheels of momentum rolling. Now, here's the decal set it came with. I suspect they're going to shatter. And I'm not even going to waste my time with trying to put clear coat on them because that doesn't work. Or it works on ones that aren't 40 years old or however old these happen to be. So this has symbols. It says Panzer 4 Brumbar. Whoops. Don't. Okay. Let's get you out of there. You'll be causing trouble. And we have some Balkenkreuzes on there. And we've got some numbers. I don't mind putting a number, but I don't think it's going to be any of these. I actually like these numbers a lot, just not for the Brumbar. And some unit numbers. We have 116th Panzer Division, 24th, and a couple of other things. So I'm not worried about that stuff. Let's test it with the Balkenkreuz, putting them up in the... I think I'll put a number, a single-digit number. I'm going to do, I found this yesterday. Brumbar paint schemes. Paint schemes. Yeah, the Balkenkreuz is up here somewhere. And a single digit number. So I'm not going to use any of these numbers. So we're going to put the... Let's test it with a cross back here and see if this cross explodes. And I've got plenty of other ones. Yeah, this is the one that I saw. Okay, sure, we'll visit this. This is off of Academy. One thing, this one here. Look at the one all the way on the left. I put my finger so I can find it there. Yeah, it has kind of a squiggles and has a double digit number up in the corner in white. So let me see if I got any double digit numbers in the corner. I got a lot of German decals, and I'm leery of painting the German ones. Those stuck-up folks are definitely anal retentive about their numbers being looking all so-and-so. No, that's not going to work doing it that way. Let's do this. And let's put some glasses on, Jesus, so I can see something. Okay. No. This is the Hummel kit. It's funny because the Fujimi model I have, its decals are fine, and it's as old as these Eschi. So these Italian guys just didn't have their act together. German reconnaissance set from Airfix, or MPC is what mine was. Jagdtiger decals from Trumpeter. Panzerjäger 4. Oh, those decals might work. That's from the Panzer 3L from Revell. Beautiful model. That's a beautiful model. Well, this has a single 6, but no, not quite. It's funny, you got so many decals and I don't have exactly what you need. That's why I'm actually a fan of hand painting my own, because I can do whatever I want. And these decals are great, but they're not big enough. And these are great too, but they're not, well, let's see, these are white. Okay, they're not exactly the shape I wanted, but those will probably do in a jiffy. That's the 87th scale. Okay, cool. So they're a little smaller than this one. That's good. That's probably what we're going to do. Those are micro scale, and micro scale decals are really, really good. I've been very happy with them. I've been very happy with most decals, as long as they're not those petting house. Embarrassment to the German, I was going to say the German race. There's not really a German race. Here's a Vespa kit. Yeah, these petting house things. These actually weren't that bad. It's the American ones that are terrible. Okay, so we're going to use... I wish I didn't have to use these. I love these numbers, but I want to use these for like the Panzer 3s and 4s style-wise. So let me look through again. Make sure I can't cannibalize something. I mean, my favorite numbers are actually black with the white outlines, but I can't use them for everything, or it just looks phony. That 6 would have been fine if I had 2 of them. I'm going to use that 3-2 from the Revell kit and only use the 2. I'm going to cut that out. And I know that thing's not going to explode. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in first, because it needs to be in a certain place in the corner. And then we can put the Balkenkreuz, move it up a little bit appropriately. You want to put something that's in a restricted area first, because you can't move it out somewhere else. You're stuck with it wherever it is. All right. I hope these don't explode. I'd be happy with them. All right, so we're going to put the 2 in there. All right, so let's take, let's find an X-Acto knife. Put my glasses so I can find myself. This should still be pretty sharp. Let's do a test on here. Yeah. All right, so we're going to cut the 3 and the 2 away from each other. And that allows us to use the 3 for something else. The 3's got kind of an interesting shape. And none of these Brum bars seem to have an interesting shaped number. So we'll save that for something a little bit more odd. Tweezer time. I think that's the thing that falls in the hole and it's hard to get out. Yep. The Swiss tweezers. I'm like, I need to buy another pair of these, and I saw how much they cost. Like, no, we're good with these. I'm paying $50 for a pair of tweezers. I'm sure they're good, and I'm worth it, but no. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out these 3 Balkenkreuzes and find out if this is these are shot or not. I suspect that they are. And that's okay. I mean, these models are almost as old as I am. The longer one is going to be Apple Plus sometime. It may add some things, make more sense than the 2.5-hour version. It's an okay film if you ignore the horrendous battle scenes. Wasn't that terrible? You go and watch a... That's the whole reason to watch a Napoleonic film is for the battle scenes. And if they're horrendous... All right, I need to take a pee break. I'll be right back, and then we will put these decals on. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Get these 2. Yeah, I can just tell they're shattered already. Yep. Like stained glass. Okay. I'm going to take this entire set and it's going in the garbage can. Okay. No point in fooling with it. Let's get some microset up here. We've got lots of Balkenkreuzes. It's your lucky day, Jeffrey. It's vinegar. Oh, joy. The stank of vinegar. Okay, those don't have any black around them on the Balkenkreuzes. And there's another one. Oh, here's the one in the back. Where do they have it? They have it. Oh, they have it on this little box back here. It seems like the place they put it. I want to put it back here up at the top. I'll put it where I damn well want to. I think it looks better there than being restricted by putting one in an area that's really small, and then you have the sheet overlaps it. We did put this on, didn't we? Yeah. Losing my mind. I like doing this so much better than sliding it on, because I'm working with relatively small things. I don't have an area around it to be able to rest it, and I'm just this is so easy to do compared to. I got lots of experience playing with small things. That's right, I said it. All right. These have a little black frame around them, so we're not going to do that. I'm going to find ones that have no frame around them. And we got plenty of them. Let's go to the Skytrex ones first. I really like these Skytrex ones. Let's cut out 2 of those. Three, actually. How do we want to do 3? Let's go these 3 right here. I didn't think Skytrex was still in business. What do I know? I want to say this is like almost like in the middle of the middle lower side. I take it you like the vinegar with your fish and chips. Malt vinegar. Too watery. You know what stuff is really good? And I'm sure they have it in Europe. I'm a huge, huge olive oil fan. But they have this balsamic. Fuck, I gotta show you what this stuff is. This stuff's amazing. And I forget I have it, honestly. Different versions of this stuff, but this is like great like on sandwiches. You take something like this is a balsamic glaze, and it's got a little top where you can just drizzle it on stuff. This stuff's amazing. You know, instead of putting some kind of condiment, put this on it. Freaking makes it wonderful. Damn it, now I'm hungry. The story of my life. I lived for the num num. Okay. One's gonna go back here. The other one's gonna go somewhere in there. And the other one's gonna go somewhere in there. Now, we can scooch these little things around. I like that one. About halfway in between those 2 return rollers. and the top of the cross even with the bottom of the two. Skytrex went out of business a few years ago. The name and most of the ranges were taken over by Warlord Games. I didn't know that. And they don't make this stuff anymore. They don't make this anymore. These are old Hinchcliffe Skytrex stuff. Man, I got a lot of T-34s. I mean, a shitload of them. God, these things are so heavy. We're going to finish them all. We're going to do some in 3-color camo. Those happen to be early T-34s, 1940s. Probably do 3 of them in that paint scheme. In my opinion, one of the better looking T-34s is the 1941. Better looking. I didn't say better performing. Better looking. Okay, that's the Brummy. Okay, move this over here. I don't know how long I'm supposed to wait to dry brush, but I'm probably going to be impatient and go ahead and do it now. That's what kind of a person I am. U.S. field drab. Yep. And Iraqi sand. Yep. Start off with the tracks. Give this a little chance to dry. I don't want to stretch these too much, but and where is a brush so we don't care if we violate it? Warlord move the games that are not directly supporting the Skytrex brand, such as Cruel Seas and Gates of Antares. They moved them, they got rid of them. Those Skytrex decals are still available. Warlord Games is just like another Games Workshop, right? It's like historical Games Workshop. And this just makes it a lot easier. And yes, these tracks are inaccurate. I don't care. That's what it came with. It's either that or I throw this thing in the garbage can. Or, spend more on tracks than another model. Like, no, we'll do the best we can with what we have. And that'll just have to be good enough. And then these tracks are going to end up being all over the place, and we'll make them look better. They're going to be real spongy. We'll make them look like this Panzer IV, which it isn't ideal, but it is significantly improved with how they look, and you can see that at least they have some bendiness to it. So, oh, there's that Nazi tank commander that fell off. I don't have him glued on. Well, I don't have him glued on. How's he look in the stud? Looks okay, except he's got his arms way up here and they're not supported by anything. I don't mind these Plastic Soldier Company tank crew. I think they look pretty decent. They no longer do the 20mm metal vehicles, 15 and 10 and only, plus they still do the decals. Victor's back. I almost went riding at San Falasco yesterday and then realized there was like a freaking event there. I've never been there. I was going to go there yesterday. And I drove by there and I'm like, oh, there's a freaking event. I'm like, well, I don't want to get involved in no event. That's a local park here to do mountain biking. Be an event with a bunch of people wearing helmets. I'm not wearing a helmet on a bike. I'm not doing bike stuff that I need a helmet. You know, I'm not riding on the road. I'm not jumping off of hills and shit like that. I was going to go there today, but I don't know if they got an event. I don't want to drive out there and then realize there's an event. I don't want to hook up all the stuff on my car to carry the bike with me. But I did something that old people do yesterday. I went to a park, and by a park I mean, you know, not like a place that has swing sets, but has trails and stuff like that. Relatively close to the house, early yesterday morning, get some exercise. I want to check the place out. And I get to the parking lot. The place only opens at 8. You're not supposed to be there until 8 o'clock. I get to the parking lot. The parking lot's full of cars. I'm like, what the? But nobody to be seen. I'm like, great. I'm going to encounter all these hippie bird watchers everywhere I'm at, right? I'm out there for like an hour and a half, and I see one other person. And this is just like a forest path in the middle of we'll call it a swamp forest. It's pretty wooded, but it's clear enough. And I encounter one person. It's some girl running by herself with earbuds in. And I'm like, what? Now, first of all, I'm like walking, you know, and it's daytime. You know, temperature actually was pretty nice. And maybe high 60s. And I'm out there walking myself through a forest, so, you know. I'm on watch listening to stuff and, you know, not unarmed, you know, just in case. And, you know, she's got earbuds in, running alone. Like, have you never seen any movies? You know, just wild animals, you know. Oh, well. And then you wonder why things like that happen in the news. But it was pretty cool. But I couldn't do the whole route because there was a tree that had fallen down. I could have gone around it, but I guess that's what old people do now. They get up early and they go walk in a park. I was hoping I'd see deer or snake or something like that. Didn't see anything. Didn't encounter anything. I figured there wouldn't be anybody there. It rained overnight. Not heavily, but nope, parking lot was full. They must have been on the other half that I didn't get a chance to go to. Okay, now we've got that color down on the tracks. We're going to come back and let's put more of it down here and go. Wife didn't want to get up early and do it, so fuck it, I'm going to go check the place out. I'm going to go explore. I'm not interested in sleeping in. That's just a waste of my life. Okay. And we got remember we got to paint this. We have this muffler to paint. And you know, I could probably be airbrushing this, but that's just not my style. You could tell that this plastic is really, really brittle. We have another couple things to glue on there. Well, we're going to end up having to repaint them when we put metal look to them. But why would you go into a wooded area by yourself? Like, that's just like, you're just asking for, let's say nothing happens, which it's likely for nothing to happen, right? That's what happens most of the time. How do you, like, not be looking over your shoulder every 30 seconds? Buddy system, folks, buddy system. The next color is going to be more noticeable than this one. This one is just, it's not similar to the main color of the broom bar, but it's close enough that doesn't show up so much. It shows up really a lot if you don't do it. If you don't do it, you're like, man, this is missing something. Yeah, well, you didn't do the base color. You didn't do the base weathering color. This is a vehicle actually I forget about. I don't really think much about these guys. It's kind of a... Well, they didn't make that many of them to begin with, and then they put them in these independent units. And there's a lot of things that they're not very good at, like attacking another tank. That's not what they're for. They're like, you know, we got this one machine gun post in that house that's really bugging us. You know, so this guy rolls up and says, how about we get rid of the house? You know, and the other house next to it. That'd be the Sturmhorser Tiger. They'd take out the whole block. Enough talk. All right, we'll roll right into the Iraqi sand. I think this is the same gun as the German infantry gun, though. 150 L11. I think it is. Could be wrong, but... Important thing is make sure you get these corners, because all the subtle detail that's on this model, you want to see that. You want to see these edges. You want to see the edges that come out, especially if you're looking at them from 3 feet away. You want this stuff that you've spent some time painting to show. of course, everything back here this is where the dust really lives. And let's go back to the tracks. I think we can probably get away with doing it this way now. I'm not a fan of making metal tracks look orange rusty, because as soon as they start moving around, all that stuff is just going to flake off, especially if it's dust. That's just my take on it. You might like rusty tracks. Bend this carefully inside out and do the same thing here. Now these vehicles with the rubber tracks are, in my opinion, some of the candidates that you definitely want to put them on a stand, because these tracks are really, really flimsy. It's going to take some effort to get them to stay down in a position that looks somewhat like tracks. And you got some paint flaking off. Well, if we've got to retrofit that, it's not that big of a deal. So we're going to plan on epoxying these things down. And I'll probably use Stickum to push it back in a place where I want it to be. You know, this stuff, blue tack, white tack, wacky tack. And there's a part here that I stapled it just for good measure. You melt those things down, and I put a staple through there so I don't have to worry about it later. So I want to make sure that that's underneath the running gear somewhere. So we're just going to slide it. I actually cut the teeth off the front. Makes it easier to install it. Otherwise the fit is way too tight. And we're just going to push it over carefully, not messing the idler wheel up. And it'll look something like this. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. What we're going to do is we're going to drop a bit of epoxy on the top of those return wheelers, and then we're going to take little pieces. We're going to try this because this stuff is actually really easy to work with. And we're going to take little globs of this, and we're going to push them in there to push it up against the epoxy thing, or maybe in between them. In theory, it should work. It might actually be a little too much. Let's take half of that. Because I don't have access to Q-tips right now. In theory, it should work. Now, I have this other stuff which I believe is readily accessible unless it's out in the garage. And it may be. In which case that won't work. Where is... No. You know, you can use paintbrushes too. You can use the back of a paintbrush. Smaller than that one. That's a little too thick. What if we used this? Yeah, might actually not be too bad. Well, we got to put the other side in. That's one of the last things we're going to do. But there's worse things out there than rubber band tracks. When I was a kid, I hated them because I could do the little melt thing, but it didn't dawn on me to use, like, you know, a staple as a reinforcement. I don't think I had a staple in my house. All right, let's step away from this, see what this looks like. Yeah, it looks pretty good. The camo doesn't look bad for an idiot. This is towards the beginning. This was the first camo I did yesterday. By the time I got to the last one, we were really showing off. Definitely a lot better towards the end of the evening. All right, I think that I'm going to leave those things in black and we can just dry brush them. We just need to add a couple of these other things. This little wrench type thing that's on the side. It's almost on every German vehicle. Okay, I'm going to repaint this. There's enough of the black left on the other ones that we can dry brush. And you can see part of the side of this wrench here. So I'm going to go ahead and paint over that as well. Okay. Fire extinguisher is normally the color of the vehicle. All right, while that's drying, let's go ahead and mix up the color that we're going to use for the muffler. And so let's grab this orange color. I believe it's this one. Light brown. Is that the one I've been using? It's going to work fine in a jiff. Orange brown. Happy Sunday, folks. Get some black over here, some of this orange. It's one of those things, I don't know how long it would take for a muffler to rust. But I don't think long. It gets really, really hot. Whatever paint is on it ends up flaking off in a big way. And you're left with this rusty cylinder back here. Okay, let's put a little bit more orange in it. And even a little more. Okay, rinse that out. We have this little block that's also on just about every German vehicle. Looking for beige brown, there it is. And we will paint the wooden part of it. Oop, let's go a little darker than that. Let's go a little darker than that so we can work up to it. Okay, and the wooden handle here of this shovel or entrenchment tool. Well, that was fun. Whee! I want to say there was one more thing I saw. Maybe it's not on here. Oh yeah, it was on the back of here. It was that tire changing tool looking thing. We're going to add a little bit of white for an outline, for highlight. For an outline? No, a highlight. Do we put it away? That's not quite it. It's this one, isn't it? No. This is another vehicle not bad for a skirmish game because it has a 150 millimeter gun, which has a big blast radius, but it's got no machine guns. So you need the infantry to keep people off of you. You don't want a vehicle that you just run the entire battlefield. And infantry can't touch, and it runs the whole battlefield. Okay. No other wooden parts. Let's get out the this color, whatever the hell it's called. Lead belcher? Lead belcher. That's about it. That's about it on the brum bar. See if we can take a picture of it. Of course, it's not sealed. It looks a little better when it's sealed too. And we haven't messed with the tracks yet. Gluing them in place. Doesn't look half bad. It's an old bottle. I would have put the interior on. I would have made one of the hatches open with it for the guy, but they just they didn't sit well in there. It didn't sit well in there. Let's make sure that we have a stand for this. We're gonna have to get the goop on there. Let's grab Panzer 4. It's also an Eschi model. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. Get my, well, I can't see. Like I said, I can't see without glasses very far. Where's my ruler? Here it is. It's not where it's supposed to be. Let's make sure this is a distance that has some kind of grounded in reality. It's not using inches. Let's use metric. Metric's more precise. Okay, this is 45, and this is 45. Oh, look at that. It's almost exactly it's the same width as this when I go across. All right, well, I'm just going to score this then. Put this off to the side. Now, just for yucks, it's the same width as the Panzer 3. Okay. All right, well, we need one for the brum bar. One for the one Panzer 3, one for the other one for the other one. So the brum bar, the brum bar, the M, the other M, the N. Hummel is on the same base as well. And that's all for the vehicles that are up here. Getting low on this stuff. We'll just have to go to evergreen. So, yeah, this should fit on there okay, right? Yep. Okay. Scoop all of them. Man, everybody go to sleep? And we use the narrow ones for trucks and stuff like that. This stuff doesn't go to waste. We try not to get this stuff go to waste. I have a finite supply of this stuff. Okay, all of these are the halvesies. They go back in the drawer. And these are all good to go. Move that out of the way, put the glasses back on. Get the clippers, which should be nearby. And let's cut some corners. All four stayed right here. That's amazing. Usually end up having to clean this stuff up off the floor. Wish it was just a little bit bigger so it wouldn't get stuck in there. That's why I'm tapping this thing. Hey, what's up, MP? All right. This one should work. This doesn't sand as nicely as the white one from Evergreen. Only because that one it's almost chalky. It almost sounds like something chalky. So it's really, let's do all four corners, dumbass. Just end up creating more work for myself later on. Much prefer to use this than wood. Wood just warps, and you don't have to worry about this warping. They're not heavy enough to cause an issue. And then we'll cut out the magnets for them in a second. So of all the airbrush paint jobs I did yesterday, the one that was the shittiest was this one. And this thing turned out just fine. So, yeah. We'll be all right. When I got back into doing these, I was concerned the first one I did. I wanted to make sure they looked okay. I wasn't all the way through the process and then find out that the steps I had taken were not going to get me to the look I was looking for. But now I'm been able to replicate the same thing multiple times. And MP, are you out in? Aren't you out in Portugal? Or am I confusing you with somebody else? That thing's super brittle. This paper is like almost like dry rotted. It's supposedly waterproof, like, yeah, maybe 20 years ago. Not now. Last one. Down here. See if we've got any started. This is in the wrong place. This is stand material. Okay, this width, yep. See if we can get 4 out of here. I think so. Let's cut this in half. Where's those little scissors? So much easier to deal with that. It doesn't have to be super precise. Okay, let's cut it in half again. Perfect. Some things are just easier to do with scissors. Some things are easier to do with an X-Acto knife. Some things are easier to paint by hand. Some things are easier to use a pen for. It just depends on what your purpose is. These are a little too long. We're going to come over to this side, see if we can cut all 4 of them at once. Nope. Nope. I'm actually not going to throw these away either. Never know when I'm going to need them. It's stupid to be wasteful. Alright, find whichever one of these sides is the smoothest. Usually the shiny one. The shiny one? No, the shiny one. And we're going to stick this to the bottom of it. Huh, I missed one. Okay. We'll cut out another one. We got plenty of magnetic sheeting. Missed two corners here. I could even do this after the goop. Just like everything be consistent. Got all corners on that, but we need more magnets. One more magnet. This goes in the garbage can. This still has life. Not thinking. This thing that has life. Let's score the other side, the side that's going to get the goop. I don't know if this makes any difference. Doesn't hurt. Goop stick. It doesn't go there. Okay. Let's get a metallic type tool here. Try to keep as much of this off your fingers as you can. We don't need the Panzer or the Stub right now. Put both of those jokers away. Of course, is Vallejo rough gray pumice. It's going to take most of the day to dry. Depends on how thick you put it on there and what the relative humidity is. 6 to 8 hours, something like that. We're going to shut down after this, after these are done. I like the edges to be clean. Gives it a more finished appearance. That's all it takes, just rub your damn finger over it. So the broom bar is pretty much ready to go, other than we got to do something with the tracks, and we need to seal it. What's happening here? It's just a razor blade scraper that is very poor quality, but it is metal, so it helps with the magnetic parts of the stand. And the last one. And like I said, this will be one of these will be for the broom bar, the other one will be for the Stug. And 3 for the Panzer 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cannot count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I need one more for the Hummel. Oh well. Somebody's going to be left out to dry. It doesn't matter. We got more stands they're going to make. Should have made 6. The Hummel is a really poor model. The running gear on it is just completely wrong, but it's what we have, and we're going to build it, and we're going to do the best we can with it. And if we're lucky, somebody will be really impressed that something so old and out of date can be made to look pretty darn decent by the time you're done with it. Okay, folks, so that's it. That's it for Sunday morning edition. And we got... I feel like we didn't get a lot done, but we still did. It just takes time. So thanks for stopping by as always.